We meet at a very dangerous moment in our history and in the history of the world to address you on the subject of implications of a Zionist Israeli attack on Iran, which now appears to be not only fairly certain, but also just around the corner. We say that Israel wants to attack Iran because Israel ultimately wants to rule the world. Because the Zionists want to rule the world. Because the Judeo-Christian Zionist European Alliance wants to deliver to the state of Israel the status of ruling state in the world. That's why we believe all these wars are taking place. And so this is why they want to attack Iran. You have the right to wage war against the people unjustly. And so an attack on Iran would be unjust war. But I want to say something more. To those who are beating the drums of war in the Arab world and who are looking forward to the attack on Iran, that you are beating the drums of unjust war. And when the attack takes place, you will be committing the same sin as supporters of the war, as those who are themselves perpetrating the war. And shame on you! Shame on you, we say to you, straight to your faces, from here in Malaysia, that if you support the attack on Iran, you are supporting unjust war. You are yourselves a party of dhulm. And Allah does not provide guidance to the people who commit dhulm. One of the reasons why many Arabs, not all Arabs, not at all, but many Arabs are beating the drums of war, looking forward to an attack on Iran, is because Iran is Shia. They hold the view that Shia are kuffar, and hence it is permissible to launch war on the kuffar, the disbelievers. How can you come to this conclusion that the Shia are kuffar? If the Shia are kuffar, then there must be some ijma' or consensus of opinion on that subject. That consensus has never been achieved in 1400 years. As a consequence, we say, it is too late in the day now for you to come with any manufactured arguments declaring the Shia to be kuffar. The drum beating against the Shia and the attack which is about to be launched on Iran is located in a larger framework in which those who are waging war on Islam are seeking to do something that will function as a catalyst for creating Sunni Shia civil war in the world of Islam. Sunni Shia civil war would be something that would be massively beneficial for Israel. Number one, Sunni Shia civil war will make Islam look negatively, a negative image in the world, at a moment when Islam is center stage in the attention of the whole world. Number two, Sunni Shia civil war in Islam, Sunni versus Shia, would function as a diverting attention, both Muslim and non-Muslim attention, away from the plans of the Zionists to rule the world. Thirdly, Muslims fighting against themselves will obviously lead to a loss of power. Our power will decrease, and that will be strategically advantageous for Israel. War on Iran obviously is going to impact on the world economy. Number one, on the price of oil. not only because Iran is a major supplier of oil, but also because Iran is located in that basin that the Iranians call the Persian Gulf and the Arabs call the Arab Gulf, and they're still fighting over the words. The price of oil is going to shoot up because Iran can also block the Straits of Hormuz. There's Iranian territory on this side and Oman on that side. It's not difficult for Iran to block the Straits of Hormuz and disrupt all the passage of oil tankers. So we can anticipate fairly confidently that the price of oil is going to escalate dramatically once the attack takes place. And the American government knows that. And that's why the American government does not want Iran to be attacked. Because the American government knows, and the Federal Reserve knows, and the bankers also know, that the US dollar is going to collapse. It will not survive an Israeli attack on Iran with the price of oil shooting up through the roof. And if the US dollar collapses, of course they're going to have to demonetize the US dollar. It will no longer be legal tender. They have to have something in place. They probably already have something to replace it, but at a fraction of its previous value. The American economy is going to collapse. Large numbers of white Americans are going to lose their wealth. And many of them are going to be listening to this lecture. There's going to be chaos in the United States when the economy collapses. There can be riots in the United States, and they're already anticipating that. And so an attack on Iran would lead to economic, financial, and monetary consequences that will be disastrous for the US economy. An attack on Iran can be launched simultaneously with an attack on Pakistan. The purpose would be to eliminate Pakistan from the nuclear club. And it is time for Muslims around the world to recognize, including Muslims in Iran, that Israel's most strategic partner, most strategic ally in the world today, after the United States, is India, with Saudi Arabia neck and neck behind India. And so, not only must India be involved in the attack, but also when the attack takes place on Pakistan, and if it succeeds, then in the sequel it is India who must now control the region on Israel's behalf. The denuclearization of Pakistan and the breakup of Pakistan into bits and pieces will impact upon Muslims in the whole of that subcontinent in such a way as to bring about a state of demoralization and despair, and send shock waves to Muslims in the rest of the world. That one of the largest Muslim communities around the world, in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, have now come under the foot of Hindu India. So India will rule the entire South Asia with NATO in control in Afghanistan for the United States of America. Israel will attack Iran in order to commence wars that she hopes will follow one after the other. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, the first implication is that Iran is going to attack Iraq. And Iran is strategically poised, advantageously poised, to attack the United States in Iraq. That Iran is also likely to attack Bahrain. And it should not be difficult for Iran to take Bahrain. Bahrain cannot stand up to an attack from Iran. Bahrain is across the water from Iran. I am suggesting to you that Iran is going to attack and take Bahrain. And even when Iran attacks and takes Bahrain, then there's a causeway between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia where you can drive back and forth. The road will be clear to Saudi Arabia. I am anticipating, and the Saudis probably already have their plans laid out very well, because they know what's going to happen. And Israel already knows what's going to happen. That they're then going to turn to the United States to invoke whatever secret agreements they have of defense. That the United States has to intervene in Saudi Arabia to protect Saudi Arabia from an attack from Iran. I think the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure, even though the US armed forces would not want to go in there, even though the Barak administration would not want to go into Saudi Arabia, the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure that American forces will have to enter into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. And they're setting a trap for the United States, so that the United States is going to be led to a situation where it's going to be facing defeat. I think that for Russia and for China, an Israeli attack on Iran, particularly if it involves the use of nuclear weapons, would be recognized as a threshold being crossed. And so long as you did not cross that threshold, Russia and China were prepared to go along and continue in the Security Council of the United Nations, for example, cooperating and collaborating where possible in managing the affairs of the world. But once you cross that threshold, the implication for Russia and China is that you have crossed the point of no return. And that an attack on Iran is now going to inevitably lead to World War. That after Iran and after Pakistan and after the Arabs, the Zionists are going to turn on China and Russia to make sure that China and Russia also bend down their knees and accept Israel, so that Israel can become the ruling state in the world. So Russia and China would know, today it's them, tomorrow it's us. And they're not going to wait until tomorrow to recognize that. The minute Iran is attacked, they will recognize that the threshold has been crossed and that we are now moving inevitably towards nuclear war. Russia and China acted strangely on Libya. You remember? When the vote came to the Security Council, they abstained, knowing full well that if they abstain, the resolution will be carried, and that is the end of Gaddafi and end of the Libyan government. Why did they do that? I felt that perhaps they knew what the plan was, and they wanted to let the Western world, NATO, to sink deeper and deeper into a quagmire, you know, like shifting sands, you can't get out. So eventually they will end up in the graveyard, and only then will Russia and China attack them. How are Russia and China responding to Syria at the moment? How will Russia and China respond to an attack on Iran and on Pakistan? My understanding is that Russia and China are going to be quite different in the way they have behaved so far in international affairs. Quite different once the attack on Iran takes place. And so we will be heading ultimately towards World War.